You're on the shoreline with them. Not in a quiet devotional moment. In a crush of bodies. Sand grinds under your feet. Salt air sticks to your skin. People are pressing so close you can't tell where one cry ends and another begins. A woman reaches out like she's drowning. A father shouts a name over the noise. Somewhere behind you, the disciples are trying to make space, failing. And then it happens. Not like a magician's trick. Like a dam breaking. A fever breaks. A limb straightens. A man who hasn't heard birds in years flinches at sound. The crowd surges, not toward a show, but toward life. Power is undeniable. Hours later, you're in a boat. Wind howls. Water slaps the wood like hands trying to pull you under. The men around you, fishermen, are suddenly not experts. They're children. Then a voice. Simple. Peace. Be still. The sea obeys. And in the hush after the storm goes flat, the question doesn't feel religious. It feels terrified. Who then is this? Because if these miracles are just random bursts of compassion, why do they land like accusations? Why do they create enemies as often as they create awe? The meaning is right there. Hidden in plain sight. And you've probably read right past it. What everyone gets wrong is thinking the miracles of Jesus are mainly three things. Random acts of kindness. Simple proof that he's divine. Or inspirational stories about how faith can unlock power. But the Gospels won't let you keep that view. They tell you quietly, repeatedly that these wonders are authored theology. Selected, positioned, interpreted, and sometimes weaponized against shallow reading. In John's Gospel, the miracles are called signs. The Greek word is *semea*. It means a pointer, a signal, something that directs your eyes beyond itself. John doesn't want you to stop at, wow. He wants you to ask, what is this revealing about Jesus? In the Synoptic Gospels Matthew, Mark, and Luke you often hear, mighty works. The Greek word is *dynamis*, acts of power. Not party tricks. Kingdom power breaking into a world that's bent and bruised. And running underneath both is another key word, authority. Greek exousia. Not raw strength. The right to act. The right to command. The right to forgive, cleanse, and restore as if God's reign is arriving in a person. That's why the scene you pictured, crowds healed, storms silenced, never stays neutral. The miracles don't just comfort, they expose. They force decisions. They provoke conflict. And, strangely, they sometimes come with secrecy. Jesus heals and then says, tell no one. That's not a publicity strategy. That's the Gospels showing you that the miracle can be misunderstood. So here's the framework. A numbered list of overlooked gospel details: purpose, timing, and symbolism. Purpose. What the miracle declares. Timing. Why it happens here, not anywhere. Symbolism. What it echoes from scripture and worship. Once you start reading with those questions, familiar passages stop being random wonders. They become a guided tour of who Jesus is. But to understand why the timing matters so much, you have to go deeper into the story the gospel writers are actually telling. The first thing you notice, once you stop treating miracles like scattered highlights, is how carefully they cluster in the story. In the world of first-century Israel, people weren't just hoping for something spiritual. They were longing for restoration: clean bodies, clean communities, clean land. Demons expelled, lepers restored, the reign of God made visible. And the Gospels place Jesus' mighty works right where those hopes are hottest. Early on, the pattern is teaching plus healing. Authority in words, authority in deeds. Crowds gather because something new is happening. But then the timing shifts. Miracles begin landing on fault lines: Sabbaths, purity boundaries, places where the question isn't, can he? But, should he? That's why you get healings on the Sabbath, not as accidents, but as confrontations. Jesus isn't merely relieving pain. He's forcing a debate about what God's rest actually means when God's kingdom arrives. And in John, the clock becomes even louder. The signs repeatedly appear near feasts: Passover, tabernacles, dedication moments loaded with Israel's memory. The miracle isn't just kind. It's timed, like a sermon delivered on a holy day when everyone already knows the vocabulary. Then there's another overlooked detail. Some miracles follow compassion, and others follow conflict. Yes, Jesus is moved with compassion in places like Mark 1 and Mark 6. But other times, the miracle comes after a challenge, a trap, a murmured accusation. The healing becomes an argument in action. So the popular assumption Jesus did miracles mainly to keep crowds happy doesn't survive the narrative. The crowds often become a problem. Opposition often intensifies right after a miracle. And Jesus keeps doing them anyway, even when the result is hostility. What the Bible actually teaches is that the miracles are story markers. They announce turning points. Authority recognized, opposition rising, identity questioned. They're placed like road signs. And once you see that, a new question opens. If the timing is intentional, then the words the gospel writers choose for these events are intentional too. And those words are about to correct how you've been trained to read miracle at all. When you listen closely, the Gospels themselves tell you what kind of thing a miracle is supposed to be. John rarely calls them miracles. He calls them *semea signs. A sign is never the destination. It's an arrow. So when Jesus turns water to wine, John doesn't say, "Look how impressive." He says it revealed his glory, and the disciples believed. The event is crafted to produce interpretation. The synoptics lean on dynamis mighty works, powers. That word highlights force, yes, but not impersonal energy. This is the power of God's reign pushing back chaos, disease, demons, even the sea. And notice the recurring reaction: fear, astonishment, offense. The people don't respond like they watched a spectacle. They respond like they encountered a threat to the old order. Then comes exousia, authority. It's everywhere in the early chapters. Jesus teaches as one having authority. He commands unclean spirits with authority. And that's the point. The miracles are not merely what Jesus can do. They're what he has the right to do. Now watch the narrative cues many readers miss. Jesus often commands silence. In Mark, he repeatedly tells people not to broadcast what happened. That's sometimes called the messianic secret, and it's not because Jesus is shy. It's because power without a cross can be misread. People can interpret miracles as politics, celebrity, or mere wonder working. And the Gospels dramatize that danger with a single repeated question: who is this? After the storm, after the exorcism, after forgiveness is spoken like a verdict, who is this man? The miracle is the spark, the question is the flame. So the text downplays spectacle and spotlights response. Some worship, some misunderstand, some harden. The miracle isn't complete until it has exposed what's in front of Jesus. That means the real battle isn't whether a miracle happened. It's what it means. And once you accept that, you're ready for the layer most readers never look for. The miracles don't only point forward to Jesus. They also quote Israel's story through symbols, numbers, places, and strange little details that aren't there by accident. You can now hear the gospel writers guiding your eyes. Timing matters, and even the vocabulary is a clue. But the most hidden layer is still ahead because the miracles are also scripture echoes, preached without a sermon. You can now hear the gospel writers guiding your eyes. Timing matters, and even the vocabulary is a clue. But the most hidden layer is still ahead because the miracles are also scripture echoes, preached without a sermon. Take the feedings. It's easy to file them under, Jesus cared about hungry people. True, yet the details keep insisting on more. A crowd in a desolate place. Bread given through the hands of disciples. Leftovers counted and gathered. This isn't random catering. It's a sign act that feels like Israel in the wilderness, where God fed his people when there was no other source of life. And the numbers aren't decoration. 12 baskets remaining after the feeding, 12 like the tribes, like Israel gathered and provided for. Then another feeding with 7 baskets left over, 7 evoking fullness, completion, and, in that setting, an expansion beyond the familiar boundaries. The miracle is saying something about the shape of the kingdom, provision, restoration, and a people being reformed. Then look at the healings that touch purity and exclusion. Jesus touches a leper. A woman with a long flow of blood touches him. A dead body is taken by the hand. In the logic of ritual impurity, uncleanness spreads by contact. But in Jesus' hands, the direction reverses. Cleanness spreads. Life spreads. The contagion is holiness. Even the strange physical actions carry meaning. Mud and spit on blind eyes. A word spoken at a distance. A command to wash. These aren't magic techniques, they are embodied parables. Creation imagery, dust and breath. Temple imagery, washing and restoration. The body itself becomes a canvas where the kingdom is painted. And exorcisms? They're not merely personal relief. They're invasion language. Jesus enters hostile space, commands unclean spirits, and the strong man's house starts getting plundered. The Gospels are showing you that the battle is bigger than symptoms. So the miracles, quote, Israel's story, wilderness provision, cleansing, new creation, victory over chaos. That corrects the shallow read that these are only kindness moments. They're kingdom announcements in action. And if they're announcements, then the most pressing question isn't, could this happen again? It's, what response did the Gospels demand when it happened then? That's where the reading gets personal. The miracles of Jesus are not spiritual fireworks scattered across a biography. They are revelations, small openings in the fabric of a broken world where you see, for a moment, what God's reign looks like when it touches dust. Bread multiplies, and you glimpse a shepherd who can sustain a people. Storms collapse into silence, and you glimpse a creator whose voice still governs chaos. Uncleanness is met with touch, and instead of contamination you get cleansing because holiness has stepped out of the temple and started walking the roads. But the Gospels won't let you turn that into mere inspiration. The same signs that heal also judge illusions. They expose what you trust. They unmask what you fear. They force the question that keeps surfacing in every scene. Not, what can Jesus do? But, who is Jesus? And that's why the story presses toward its center. The greatest sign is not simply that bodies were restored in Galilee. It's that the King would take the world's sickness into himself, pass through death, and rise so the restoration those miracles previewed could become permanent, not temporary. So when you reopen a miracle passage, don't stop at the wonder. Listen for the authored meaning, purpose, timing, symbolism. The text is showing you a kingdom, and a king worth trusting. If this kind of hidden in plain sight reading opens something up, there's more where that came from, so stay with the channel and subscribe for more gospel depth that trains your eyes to see what the writers have been saying all along.